Hey y'all, I am literally coming to you right now from my living room, which I feel like where we've all been lately. This is where I've been watching way too much Netflix. It's where we've been doing family meals. It's where we've been playing games. Like, this is kind of the space where everything has been happening, and I'm sure it's the same for you. It's interesting, all the amount of time that we've had lately, for me at least, has led to a lot of reflection. And a few nights ago, I was actually reflecting on a moment that sticks out to me as being really profound for my growth as a leader and as a person. It wasn't at any sort of formal event or gathering. I was actually out running errands. We have a Staples right down the street. And a few years ago, I was running to get a few supplies so that I could run a workshop the following day. I grabbed supplies. I was quickly headed out the door to get in my car and go to my next spot. And as I left, there was a man in the parking lot who stopped me and asked for some spare change. I looked in my wallet. I had, I think, $2 bills. I handed it to him and I said, quote, "I wish I had more to give you. Here you go." Before I could do or say anything else, before I could get in my car, before I could continue my busyness, he stopped me. And he said something that I'll truly never forget. He said, quote, "I need you to understand, it's not what you give that matters. It's that you give. It's not what you give, it's that you give." And that moment stopped me dead in my tracks. I think forever I had looked at service, I had looked at this idea of selflessness as the monetary value that I could give, what it was worth that I was giving. That if I could just pile up enough, or if I could just spend enough, or if I could save enough, that would be giving. But again, he reminded me that it's not what I gave, but that I gave that mattered. It was a perspective switch for me, because I think, especially right now, I think the world is in great need of a lot of things. We hear stories about hospitals in need of masks. We hear stories about people who are running out of toilet paper because y'all bought everything. You know what families you are. Like, we're in times of such great need, but I would argue that times of great need call for times of great selflessness. I think we have a really, really cool opportunity right now to practice what it means to give, to practice what it means to be selfless. And to be honest, I would argue that the greatest things we have to give right now, regardless of the crisis, actually, especially because of the crisis, that the greatest things that we have to give right now from our living rooms don't actually cost any money. I would argue the greatest things that we can give right now to practice selflessness cost 3 things. I think the first thing it costs is courage. I think it costs courage right now to ask questions. I think when we talk to friends, and I'm guilty of this as well, the first thing our brain is wired to do is to complain about everything going on in our world. I think it's really easy to complain about things that are happening right now. I think it costs courage to ask questions about how people are doing, to ask what they need, to ask about their day, to ask how they're feeling. I think it costs courage right now to ask questions. I think the second thing that selflessness requires is time. 3 years ago, I was in a really rough place because our family was battling something. My dad was in the middle of a very long battle with brain cancer. And about 3 years ago, he lost that battle. Before he left us, though, he was kind enough to leave me with a small gift. A little while before he passed away, he left me a voicemail on my phone. That voicemail is my most prized personal possession. Again, it literally comes in the form of just a message on my phone. I have that voicemail, that file saved every way modern technology possibly knows how. It's the greatest thing I possibly own, and from start to finish, it literally lasts 8 seconds. It's basically an 8-second message with my dad telling me that he loved me. Again, it's the greatest thing I own. I can't sell it. It's not worth a single dime. So I would argue that the greatest things that we have in life, the greatest things that we're given, oftentimes don't cost money, but I think they always cost time. And I think if there's one thing right now that we all have a lot of, it's time. I think we all have time to give freely right now. I think if you're sitting at home in your living room, I think if you're trying to figure out online classes, I think we all have at least a little bit of time to spare to reach out to people right now. I think time is something we all have, and if service, if practicing selflessness, if it costs courage, and if it costs time, I think the third thing that it costs is compassion. Can we all have a moment right now and understand that so many people in this world are grieving loss right now? Some are grieving loss from the virus. Some of you watching this video are grieving the loss of events. California this week made the decision that they're not going back to school. Many states have already made that decision. Some states still might. I think it's okay to acknowledge and understand that we're going to grieve the cancellation and loss of events and experiences. Many graduations are canceled. Proms are canceled. Field trips canceled. There are so many events right now that are canceled, and I think it costs compassion for us to have understanding of that process, because it's very okay to grieve those moments. I think that while so many events are canceled, I would argue, though, at the same time that there are a few things we can take solace in understanding aren't canceled right now. I don't think kindness is canceled. I don't think compassion, time, or courage are canceled. I don't think friendship is canceled. I don't think family is canceled. I don't think quality time is canceled. I don't think game nights are canceled. Please, I pray that Netflix doesn't get canceled. I think there are so many things that aren't canceled right now. I think they're some of the best things in this world. Years ago, I was in a parking lot and a man approached me asking for some spare change. And he reminded me in that moment that it wasn't what I gave that mattered, but that I gave that made all the difference. I think that regardless of our situation or the living room you're sitting in right now, I think you each have something to give. Again, times of great need call for times of great selflessness. I think there's work to be done right now. So let's get to it.